And the Lord will bring you back to Egypt in ships, through the way about which I had said to you. You will never see it again. And there you will seek to be sold to your enemies for slaves and handmaids, but there will be no buyer. This is where the transatlantic slave ships docked and set sail. A tragic event. Why has the descendants of those carried off on the ships that set sail from here turned to this book and chapter to claim hold of identity? Who fits the curses? They ask. But why has the tribes who still live around these surrounding areas, whose oral traditions and migrations point to the land of Canaan, who these sons and daughters hail from, never used this book and chapter as proof text? Because the book is Assyrian influenced, filled with the ideologies of our once Assyrian overlords, which had a profound and decisive effect on the formation of this book. It was not an old book that was suddenly discovered, as you have been made to believe, but a 7th century invention written just before or during Josiah's reign. A book written not long before its discovery. A book falsely attributed to Moshe. No wonder DeWitt referred to it as pious fraud, which I believe is too strong a phrase to use, even though the pious softens the impact of the fraud. The origins of the book informs us about how to read it. Let's look at the bigger picture rather than building theories around relatable texts. Who were the minds behind Deuteronomy, and why is it important to identify them? Stay tuned.